Hello, and welcome, well, as always, I am, of course, your host, Casimir Basilius, Imperial Lord, and all that. We are here for Worldbuilding Wednesday. We have attempted to get our conscripts to fix any issues we may have had. So hopefully, ideally, if things have gone correctly, we have, if things have gone correctly, we have everything working. My apologies, I'm just checking with the conscripts to make sure things are, in fact, working properly, as we have done some technical things that mean, well, it means things theoretically should be working, but it's always hard to tell. But as soon as I double check that they are working, we'll get right into the world building. Ideally. Let's just make sure we've arranged things properly. Which we didn't. Well, it's not too much of a problem. If everything else is working is the real question. There, that should be somewhat acceptable. Maybe, perhaps. We'll find out. We will find out. Look, both me and my conscripts have no idea about Elysian technology, or the way your Elysian things works. Elysian being Earth, of course. So, of course, getting all this Elysian tech to actually work is complicated. But theoretically, everything should be working. So, as much as I want to burn worlds, it is, of course, World Building Wednesday. So let's build some worlds as opposed to burn them. As I said, ideally, things are working. Things say they are in the red, which is, not where we want things to be. We don't want our displays to be saying they are in the red. But As long as our ship doesn't start exploding or everything doesn't start exploding, things should be fine, theoretically. I have no way of telling. This is far beyond the capabilities of my conscripts and me. But ideally, ideally, things are working. It looks like they are, so let's just hope. Um, Despite all the displays being in the red. Um, okay. Enough technical talk. Things are probably, hopefully, working well enough. So, let's get to the actual world building. We are, of course, working on the Terran nations. In the territories, well, specifically in the sector that Juliana Aldis is in. We're going to pick up where we left off last, which has been, well, just writing information on systems, sectors, details, little bits, paragraphs of data, interesting things like that. Well, things I find interesting like that. Nerd stuff, if you will. Last time on News Day, Tuesday, we rambled about my personal empire, the nation rules, sort of how they tie into the projects we're working on. I say projects, I mean in-game national projects we're working on. Space elevators, orbital rings, that kind of thing. Anyway, we should, now that I think about it, build some Banks orbitals. I'm annoyed. I remembered a thing that's going to annoy me to no end. I'm sorry. Technical talk. I mean, it's what we do on World Building Wednesday. We talk technical things on World Building Wednesday quite often, even though it's not what I want to do on World Building Wednesday, but it is a staple of World Building Wednesday, so we might as well. It's not something we can talk about on Solo Sunday, so we might as well talk about it on World Building Wednesday, even though Solo Sunday's on Friday, and look, everything is pure chaos. There's a method to the madness, but it's best to not think about it. But there really is a method to the madness. Um, so the thing I was going to say technically about technical issues is in nation running, thanks to good friends, thanks to very good friends, we have been able to fix a segment of running nations. Specifically, you know what? Thanks to specifically um, several friends, but one of them streams. So go check out Merlin Bishop. Um, we were able to figure out how to make nation stats scale. So nations can purchase stats with money, which is far simpler than the previous system that was just full of annoyances. But thanks to good friends, we were able to fix it so it works in a way that I find more than acceptable, actually ideal. Because now I have a way of scaling it, and if ever things change, I can rescale it in just a way that's easy to comprehend and makes sense and can be fixed easily, basically. But for something I never really mentioned to anybody that we didn't really get around to, or I didn't really get around to working on, is I don't really have a good system for population scaling. Specifically, I'm trying to set up a system that basically goes, so your population it has a certain amount. Where is it? Let me bring up my nation rule book here. So I want a mix. Basically, law-wise, the majority of standard systems have no less well, they can have less. It's the average. The average is no less than 10 billion people per object in the system. That's the average. It's allowed to go below the average or above the average, even significantly. Dyson swarms exist, of course. But the average rating is about 10 billion people per system, usually considered the minimum. So, not per system, per object in a system. So I want a system, I say system, in this case I mean rules system, with penalty when going greater than 10 billion people per object. A penalty put of and a penalty for artificial objects to a degree if you have more than a certain amount of people. Basically keeping a sort of, here's the average population of a galaxy, of not a galaxy, of a system. If you go over it, you're going to have penalty, but it's manageable. And if you're below it, there's no penalty, of course, at all. I mean, you will have detrimental effects on the ability to run your nation, but that's built and baked into the nation running rules. So it's not like we need any additional penalty for below, but we need penalty for above certain tiers. Now we have a loose system that handles it. So basically, there's no penalty for your capital, your nation's capital. A subsector capital has a lessened penalty, etc., etc. There's lessened penalties than for like your total capital. There's no penalty. But I need a system that allows you to go over, but provides a reasonable penalty. So it's possible to build up a system, but it's slow and debatably detrimental. I mean, of course, there's benefit, but a cost, you know, a cost to doing it. And so finding a system that makes that work is, it's not an easy thing that I've found a way to do. So basically, that's something I'm working on. Nation stats, thanks to my friends, were able to get set. But populations, I haven't really found a way that works for how to do it. I have a few ideas. Forgive me while I ramble about this once more. I know it's not world building. World building is more rules work than world building. But often just saying things about rules will actually help me come up with solutions, strangely enough. Like just saying it out loud, like I'm talking to somebody, or even just talking about it to somebody, helps me come up with solutions for these kinds of problems. Let's see, what section of the book is it in? Damaging nations. So currently, I have it sort of loosely assigned to loyalty, which is kind of how I want it, kind of. But then again, when things are assigned to loyalty, we do get sort of problems when dealing with, I mean, of course, it's accurate because well, the solutions. Making a living world in a universe scale universe with so many different species and creatures and everything is not easy. Especially when I mean, writing it is debatably easier than statting it, you know? So, of course, insectoids, with their hive minds, not every insectoid has a hive mind, but hive mind insectoids, of course, can have higher populations before a detriment based on their amount of them. You know, like swarm-based creatures and so forth, and droids and robots that are mindless, but also hive mind robots, and I say hive mind, but you know, like connected to a mainframe that does the thinking, and like it gets hard to, but those are exceptions to the rules. We need to even, to get, before we even get to exceptions, we need to set the base rules, which are not even set specifically. I mean, we have a lot of base rules, but basically for, like I said, large populations and the detriments of them are not fully set in a way that I find acceptable. Basically, currently, there's a minus, one of the thoughts on it is a -1 per 10 pop representing the scale of different views up to a max at -50 at 100 pop. Not 100, -50 at 500 pop. Pop being population, pop also meaning on the standard galactic scale, standard nation scale, one pop is 1 billion people. Of course, there's lesser nations in which you literally just move the decimal point, but those usually aren't galactic scale nations, you know? I believe the smallest scale is one pop is 1 million people, 1 million at the smallest scale for like nation running of, like standard nations. Well, the standard is one pop is a billion. Same goes for credit units, which is usually 10 billion credits per credit unit, but you move the decimal point equally to the pop, basically. So instead of, for the scale in which it's one pop is a million, one credit unit is 10 million. But basically, also, like, it's not called one credit unit at that scale and one pop at that scale. It's like, there's this entire list. It's like Deca, pop, or something like that. I'd have to check the chart, but like, there's little prefix or suffix that gets attached indicating the scale is a smaller scale. And then, of course, if it's larger scale, it's like K for 1,000 pop or 1,000 credit unit. Anyway, that's not important. We're talking about already side tangent to a side tangent. Focus on the main tangent. Um, so basically, um, basically, trying to find a way to balance the population to penalty. I want there to be a penalty for high pop. I want there to be a penalty. But balancing that penalty to get it to still do what I want is annoying. Because I want it to be possible to have a higher than average pop. I want it to be detrimental to have a higher than average pop, but not detrimental enough that it's not possible. You know what I mean? I don't want it to be like, wow, you have a high pop, so you can't do anything. It should be you you should be better off than a pop with a we'll go with planets for this. You should be better off than a planet with less pop than you. But you shouldn't scale 1 to 1. You know what I mean? If we're saying the pop is every 10 billion, okay, every 10 pop. If we're saying it's every 10 pop. So, I don't want a planet with 50 billion people to be 5 times better than a planet with 10 billion people. I don't want it to be equal, like 1 to 1. But I don't want it to be so detrimental that it's like you have 50 population, pop units, therefore you are doing worse than a group that has 10 billion or 10 pop because they are not taking the penalty. I want it to be detrimental the more pop you have, but not in a way that it shouldn't be easy and there should be drawbacks, you know? It shouldn't be easy to do and there should be drawbacks, but you should be slightly better off than a nation with less. I mean, the initial benefit is, of course, every pop can do things. I say can do things. Each one is worth money. you can tax them. And they have a production ability. They also consume utilities. Otherwise, they get upset. So the base thing is they consume utilities. But if you build your nation right, utilities aren't really a drawback. You can produce enough utilities to cover them in a sense. So, loyalty? But at what scale does that matter? And it gets complex. And I need to figure out how to do it properly. I have a lot of different notes. I have a bunch of different notes on ways that might work to do it, but I haven't really settled on one that works, that I find acceptable, you know? We have like the temporary one, which is just loyalty, but I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. One moment. I'm gonna look up the other section related to pop. Mm-hmm. Where is it? These are the problems we face. So, currently, our nation rules for running nations and everything are 128 pages. So it can get a little difficult to find where I put temporary notes within the file because I put them usually around the section in which it matters, but there's references to sections in different parts of the book and you know, sometimes I'll put it in other sections and you know. Loyalty checks, loyalty upkeep. No. Let's go down to the other nation section. Here we are. Major actions, influential leaders. No. See, for instance, annoyingly and strangely enough, due to some flaw in my own logic, the the penalty for population, or at least one of the sections of penalty for population, is listed under, well, right above the skills section for some reason. Mm-hmm. Oh, would it be under policies, projects, and decrees? Edicts and decrees, yes. Edicts and decrees has a section on it, at least, in which states that the capital worlds double the amount of pop before pop loyalty debuff applies. Capital systems ignore pop loyalty debuff from high pop. Hmm. Not really the most organized for finding these, I must admit. Let's see. Um, damaging a nation. No. I know I noted a second version of this rule somewhere. Or is that something else I'm thinking about? This is going to annoy me to no end because I've realized that I might be thinking about something else. Split between sectors on the map, acting one sector as long as 50 light years, scales at 5. Sector lower, subsector within mission gets that bonus, skill bonus of 40 for each skill baseline. What was I scaling per system? This is per system or subsector that has the stat rating. Oh, that's what I'm thinking of. Oh, but what did I note the thing on larger pops? Because I know there's a section listed for one system subtype can have more units based on the base scale of pop upkeep or alternatively large-scale grouping as multiple systems or do it by system pop. Okay, so that got worked into that rules section and I put the temporary thing there. Looks like we're working on work. Welcome to me working on work. Yes. I know, thrilling. My apologies. Or alternatively... Did I note the loyalty debuff here? That's the real question we're wondering. Okay, we did add a system to make the stacking of structures over the thing that apply continuous penalties. There's a reason we use spreadsheets for nation running. There's a genuine reason we use auto-calculating spreadsheets for nation running. Yeah, Galactic Requiem has something for everyone, including people who like Microsoft Excel or OpenOffice Calc. You like spreadsheets? Great, you'll love running a nation. There's actually easier ways to run nations, but for people who like the complexities of it, there's a spreadsheet option. Have we gone too far? Perhaps. Balancing a set of rules that's supposed to be universal, absolutely universal to a degree, is not necessarily easy. I think we've been over this before. We've been over the basic example, which is a person and a starship in Galactic Requiem are on the complete same scale. They are on the same scale, not size-wise and movement-wise per se, but basically, like, a starship's cannon does damage that is on the same scale as character scale. A character's pistol does damage that is on the starship scale. There's no system in between. Like, technically, you can shoot A starship with the pistol, it's not going to do anything. Starship probably has damage reduction 60. Pistol does 2d6. It's not going to do anything. But you can. You can empty a mag into a starship's fusion core. That will have detrimental consequences for everybody involved. You know, like things like this. And a character can affect a nation. You would have to kill 50 people to obliterate completely an elite unit. You could probably kill less to make it less effective. Specifically within the rules, there are rules for that. It would deteriorate for every certain amount you killed. But basically, basically, you can affect a nation, specifically by killing its influential leaders, by destroying its infrastructure, etc., etc. A character, theoretically, it would not be easy, could damage nation-scale things. It's not calculated as health, per se, because when like earlier, I said nations' health. It has, organizations and nations have health based on their infrastructure, their number of population and or units, their buildings and so forth, their stats, etc. And a character can damage these things. You can't just like shoot the concept of a nation. You have to damage its objects. Nations also have health in a sense of, I think I've been over this before. You can basically economically fight. Two nations can fight economically, and then based on the amount of health lost in an economic battle determines the amount of money lost or gained, etc., or the amount of effect that can be done based on that money. If you attempt to steal an amount of workers, it's calculated based on the amount of money. This is the amount of value of workers you have been able to convince to join your organization from their organization, etc. There's entire rule sets we have in regards to basically any possible kind of conflict. You can ruin somebody's political image. You can do all this kind of stuff in Galactic Requiem. So we have basically rule sets involved in nations fighting nations, organizations fighting nations, people fighting nations, etc. And there's different scales in health. So like obviously a full-on space nation's not going to take penalty but from a single starship bombarding a single area, it's probably not going to have effect. A single person blowing up a single building on the nation scale is not going to have a large effect. You would have to blow up multiple buildings on a space nation scale to have a effect that's actually going to be readable. However, we do have it set up in a way that if you blow up a space elevator on one world, that world's penalty is going to be higher because we do separate them into a thing. There's an overall rating and then there's a local rating. So basically we'll use organization as an example. This applies to nations, but it's easier to use the organization as an example. So we'll use an organization in one world, but like I said, this can apply and does actually in Galactic Requiem apply on a larger scale for like nations and so forth. But we'll use a local organization, for example. If you blow up a corporate security facility in one city, they cannot use it in that city. So they would have to send forces, which would take time and apply penalties via distance for sending a reaction force to deal with whatever they would normally deal with from another city. So there are local penalties. And while it might not overall lessen the organization's stat score, so like their force modifier probably won't lower from 100 if they're a megacorp just because you blow up one facility, their local influence in being able to have full stats and roles in that local area are deteriorated. So there's actually a system for locational effect. So you might not deteriorate their entire stats by blowing up a thing, but you will affect them. It might be a minor effect. It really depends on the scale of what you're dealing with, of course, and how you're going about it. If the media picks up on it, so of course, if you're thinking, wow, I've killed an influential leader, that will have significant detrimental effects. Let's go with something a bit less important. I've killed several of their workers, like a number of their workers. Not enough to even equal a worker unit. Hell, they probably have 10,000 worker units if they're megacorp. I killed one worker unit. It's done maybe 1 HP of damage. It's not really done much of anything. But if you do that, maybe a rival corporation or a rival media organization might pick up on that because that corporation you're fighting against has rivals. They might start spinning a news story about how working for that corporation is dangerous. Look, they've had deaths of their workers. Somebody's clearly targeting them. Can they even protect themselves? They can't even protect their workers. Like, so doing something that might not even have a effect yourself might have an effect because others might take advantage of that. And you might even have an effect, like if you killed 100 workers, technically that organization would take 1 damage because 100 workers is 1 damage, which they'd have to pay a copious amount to repair, and they'd have to hire back workers. So you could do significant damage by killing 100 workers of theirs for the organization scale. I say significant. If they have 10,000 workers, they can afford to fix that easily. You would have technically cost them money, technically. Like, you would have cost them a lot of money. Like, let's be real, it would have cost them over 400,000 Galactic Standard credits, but they're a megacorp. They can cover it. But you've technically made their end earnings less. So, like, you know, one person doing a little bit's not going to have a major effect, but it's possible. It's theoretically possible to affect larger scale things on a character scale. And that's my point. It's an attempt at a simulated universe. Everything that you would expect could have effect should have effect. But that's, like I said, that's where we get back to what this tangent started on, which is having population affected, which is what we're basically sort of trying to fix, I suppose, trying to edit, trying to balance, trying to write rules that make sense for population penalties for large populations. Which I mentioned a little bit of in our Dyson Swarm when I was talking about the Dyson Swarm and how managing multiple Dyson Swarms have such a penalty that we provide. It's currently just noted specifically as a Dyson Swarm. You can only have 1 per thing because the penalties would be vast. It's very not fluff, but GM handled. It's GM handled as opposed to written in. It's written that you can only have 1 per subsector because of such things, but there's no numbers behind it. That's what I'm trying to say. There's no numbers behind it, and I like having numbers behind things because I'm insane. I like having numbers because I'm insane. Yes. I like knowing the exact health of structures when bombarding worlds because reasons. But yes, so it's a lot of that. It's a lot of that. Um, let's see. One moment. Let's just make sure, real fast, that things are still working. Everything is still saying error. That's lovely. Not really, but at least as far as I can tell, things are still working despite the fact. So, My conscripts are doing well, hopefully. Make all this up and making sure this is all working. Anyway, but basically that's my point. It's a lot of trying to write and come up with things that make sense rules wise. I also need to expand the items list heavily. There's lots of things I need to work on. I need to clean up the rule book a bit, edit it, format, fix things. A lot of that still. And we should do some actual world building, I suppose. Here today on World Building Wednesday. So let's get to the actual world building. Finally, 40 minutes in. Looking for the sheet. But hopefully this will be a long day for us here. We're going to just world build and talk about Galactic Requiem for fun. Because I'm excited because things all appear to be working, which is fun. And I really feel like I need to get work done on something. I've had a bit of writer's block recently. Bit of writer's block. And I feel the need to push through it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to push through and work. Oh, and we still have plans for things. So many plans that we need to actually work on. But, I mean, you know, we'll get there. Like I said before, I'm not one of those. I always dislike when people are like, here's a project I can't talk about. I was like, and they make their own projects. Like, we're talking about people who make their own projects. They're not under any rules that say they can't actually talk about it. They just are all secretive about it for no reason. I always dislike that. Me, personally, I find myself being like, I have a project, and then sort of not wanting to talk about it, but that's just because I'm always concerned that I'm not gonna get it done in time. You know? That's why I be a little vague about my projects. I always hate when people are vague about theirs, but they're the kind of people who get it done, so it's weird. They just don't. They're secretive about it. I have. Let's put it this way. Like I said, I'm not secretive about mine. I just hate talking about them because I always fear I'm not going to get them done. You know, that writer's block and the inability to get work done. No, the projects we're working on are, of course, our lore videos. For instance, the reason I don't like talking about projects, I'm sure you've heard when we started our lore series that it was going to be once a month. Has it been once a month? No, no. We've also had a delay in our news videos for quite a while. So you see my point? You see my point? I said they were going to be weekly, and then they weren't. They weren't. And I said the other was going to be monthly, and then they weren't. That's the problem. I'm trying to get back to getting those out. Uh, Other projects include stories, as you may know. I am a writer, so I want to get those. I want to have a section which I just sort of read stories, theoretically. The problem with that is I can't read words properly without messing up or having strange intonation. And then I get real upset. I can't pre-record them. The very first news video I did was, I hate it by the way, was pre-recorded. It was recorded and then uploaded. The very first news video I did. The amount of times I reread it, because I'd mess up a single word or single read speed on a section or so forth. The amount of times, you have no clue. The amount of times I redid that. So in order to actually even get videos out for the news section, I said, fuck it, we're doing it live. So we just do news live, and if I mess up, I have to keep going because it's live. But also, video editing is not my strong suit, and I don't have any good video editing program, so it's not easy. But like I said, I'm not really secretive about my projects. I'm fully allowed to fucking talk about them, and I hate when people are secretive about them. So yeah, lore videos, still working on those. Of course, as you may have heard, I'm still sort of trying to make a token pack. I'm working on a series of adventure modules. I'm working on a series in which I read stories of Galactic Requiem, a series in which we will cover other characters other than Yulan. All there's all sorts of different solo TTRPG stuff. I want to. What's my big list of work? I have a big list of work. Where did I put it? Because I probably don't even remember half of the projects I want to work on. Um, where is it? Here it is, I believe. Yes. Technical talks about Galactic Requiem, about the technology and so forth, talks about starships and just technical descriptions and breakdowns, topic rambles, mentioned these stories where we read Galactic Requiem stories. We have our news, of course, and our lore videos. I also want to do I want to play more video games. And I want to do a sort of military operation breakdown series where we talk about battles in a sort of, with visual representations, like, them tactical things, like big overviews of battles and so forth, about that kind of thing, and even some small scale stuff like that. Just stuff like that related to Galactic Requiem. But those are basically the projects I keep. Whenever I say projects, those are a lot of the things most of the things, I believe everything even. There might be a few that I noted in other places. Projects that we're working on. That's them. Just don't expect them to be done anytime soon. Um, but we're working on them. I also need to work on writing more stories. I've fallen behind on that a bit. And then there's obviously just the clearly working on Galactic Requiem rules. Then there's, of course, our usual Worldbuilding Wednesday and Solo Sunday. Stuff like that. So much stuff like that. Anyway, let's get to the actual world building. Here we are. Produce a wide variety of goods in the system, owned and run. Org level 18. Cool. Oh, let's work on the system. That's what I was thinking of. And then, of course, on top of everything I mentioned before, there's writing Galactic Requiem lore and all that, world building just personally for the game, statting, rules, book formatting and editing and designing. And then lastly, working on campaigns that I run for people. All that stuff. I do not like the formatting of this. Mm-hmm. Object 7, Moon 3. Mm-hmm. Object 7, Object 1 and 2. Colonize used for mining. Many colonies are not independent but part of the various nations in the system. 1, 2, 7. 9, 16, 17. I just wanted to make sure they were in order. I should really use the Traveler style data sheet that we have. It's a data sheet that basically stores information in a crunched way. I like lore paragraphs, but I really should make more of those for the storage file. Of course, the storage file just being the file that stores data in an easy and comprehensive way. Where did I put the base stat sheet? I also need to work on random generators. Hmm. If you couldn't tell, what I work on is Galactic Requiem. Given everything I do is Galactic Requiem. I mean, like I said, of course we do play games and have collabs sometime that don't relate to Galactic Requiem. But from a what do I work on standpoint, it's always Galactic Requiem. And occasionally writing for people. Worlds. Economic data key? Nope. Is this the proper one? That's an example. Where's the proper sheet? A blank sheet. I know I have a blank sheet somewhere. Is it at the bottom? That would make sense. Yep. Oh God, why is it so complex? Galactic Standard Astronomical Catalog Abbreviated. Galactic Standard Subsector Profile. Galactic Standard System Profile. Galactic Standard System Scale Civilization Profile. Galactic Standard World Profile. Galactic Standard Civilization Profile. Galactic Standard System Scale Civilization Profile. Subsector Scale Civilization Profile. Government Profile. Law Profile. Culture Profile. Religion Profile. Nation Profile. Remark Profile. Additional intel such as the trade profile, the corporation profile, the starship profile, the vehicle profile, the item profile, the equipment profile, the cargo profile, the robot type profile, the personality profile, and the culture profile. In addition to the star system code and the abbreviate, I think we already mentioned it, but the astronomical catalog abbreviated. What is a code, if you're wondering? Which hopefully you're not. But let's talk about the Council Capital System of Tavel. So if you know, we always talk about, I say always, we sometimes talk about space and coordinates and the galactic standard system and coordinate 00. Coordinate 00 is subsector, no, sector 00, sector 0 also considered. So the council capital, where this is based on, is sector 0, subsector 55, subsector location 1515. Its profile, which translates into actually meaning something, is 1-F-S-CO-AST-AST-PB plus BM AST-ART plus REF PGG PT plus 6M ART plus JG PIG PGG plus DC plus RS plus 12M. It goes on. We're not even halfway through it. But you see my point. Just looking at it, it looks like a string of nonsense. It breaks down into making sense. Now, I don't have the key in front of me. I don't have the key in front of me. But one object, F-class star, not sure what S is, single? Like I said, I don't have the key in front of me, unfortunately. Oh, here we are. There's the key. One stellar class object, so one star, F-class star. And then using the traveler style numeric code, S. So I don't have that in front of me, but S number of objects, basically. Which is, we can probably find it by scrolling up. S being unit digit code, 26 objects in orbit of that star, which is what S stands for. First object, CO. So a first object is a comet, I believe. We can check if I'm right about that, because we have the full sheet under our factions catalog. Let's see whether I was even right about that. Well, let's read a little bit more for fun before I check. So, comet, asteroid, PB, which is planet, B, don't know what that stands for. I'd have to check the chart of what each of these stands for. Plus BM, plus Broken Moon. Planet Barren. PB, Planet Barren is my assumption, plus Broken Moon, dash AST, asteroid, dash ART, artificial structure, plus REF. Not sure what REF stands for. Anyway, we'll see whether I'm right. Faction catalog, Galactic Council, Capital System. Capital System, where are you? Here we are. Time to see if we are right. Star data, 1 star, F-class star. 26 objects in orbit. Object 1, comet. Object 2, asteroid field. Object 3, asteroid field. Object 4, planet. Barren, broken moon. 5, asteroid field. 6, artificial structure. REF refinery. It's a refinery. Asteroid, asteroid, planet, broken moon. Asteroid, artificial refinery. Then PGG. Then PT. What did those mean? PGG, planet gas giant. PT, planet terrain bias, plus 6 moons. Terrain bias, plus 6 moons. PT, plus 6M. Yep. Basically breaking it down into a string that basically stores a bunch of planet data in a single line. Let's put it this way. This takes 1 line or 2. This one takes 1 line of space across in the file. Could take 2, maybe 3, right? If it's like a super large system with a lot of things in it, could take 2, 3, perhaps more. The actual sheet with the star data takes 28 lines of text. So basically it's crunching it to store lots of information in a small place. But basically, yeah, with the key, it's a lot easier if you actually have the key in front of you for what they mean. But yeah, like you can read it across and just basically decode it with a key to what it means. And each little key, like admittedly, you can have a lot of lines of text. You could theoretically, with this, get to that full, like 26 lines of text. But the thing is, with all those lines of text, you'd be storing more information than you'd be able to store normally, basically, you know? So basically, you could store the economic output of everything about a planet in just a little list. Anyway. So that's one way to go about storing data that I like. I need to transfer things into that system. It's not hard to do because once you have the sheet in front of you, you can just type it in. Theoretically, using the system, you can also random generate things. So a lot of times, of course, I build things from hand. Most of the time I build things from hand. But I like the option of random generating because not always am I confident I can come up with something new or wild, you know? Of course, I have biases as a Terran. I have biases. And so randomly doing it helps me avoid those biases. You know? And also it allows us to use our solo TTRPG bot. The more random generators we have, the more the bot can surprise us. You know? It is a universe. It's a, like I said before, it takes place in a galaxy. Currently, there's multiple galaxies and entire multiple realms and universes, but mainly there's the galaxy it takes place in. The galaxy's big. The galaxy's 200,000 light years by 200,000 light years. So, there's a lot in there. There's a lot of random creatures and species and things that vary. So, having random generators helps. I just wish there was an easy way to make names. Anyway. Let's see. Let's just make sure everything is still working real fast. My apologies. I am ever so slightly worried due to the fact that, well, my thing I'm working with keeps saying that there are errors, but apparently it's working despite that, theoretically. I have no way of telling till this is done. So we're just gonna hope. We're just gonna hope that our conscripts are competent in some way. Okay. Islands terrain, yeah. That's a nice world, right? 17. Inert, breathable atmosphere, islands terrain. That was one thing I think I thought I realized I had to do last time, and I did, which is figure out what categories the atmospheres fall into, which was a little problem I faced, but I sort of figured it out. So inert breathable atmosphere basically means that you will take penalties, so you basically do have to wear a mask to a degree, like a full-on breather, oxygen. Otherwise, you will suffer problems breathing. Hello. We are world building today. I hope you are having a wonderful day. Hello, hello. We are just talking about how to stat planets, sort of. Not really stat the planet, but writing descriptions of them. Hopefully things are working on your end. I am but a humble imperial lord, serving the Empire loyally. I serve House Merit. Here we are. They purchase luxury liners from Object 9, and we noted in Object 9's variant that they produce those from their government-run corporation. The leader of the Empire is not who you think it is. The leader of the Empire is currently not even in the galaxy. As the leader of the Empire is currently managing imperial affairs that may or may not involve an alternate traitor faction to the Empire. But the Empire is doing well. The Empire manages. We are in an ideal situation. But we are raising forces for our current war against the corrupt Imperials who follow the traitor. Let's see. What I want to do is get most of these worlds prepared. Indeed, the traitors are everywhere. They were once imperial until they went to... well, till they became traitors. But the Empire assures you all that has been handled. There are no traitors to the Empire. No, 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 no. It's impossible. The loyal Imperial forces maintain their firm grasp on the galaxy. Mostly. Actually, the corrupts have sided with the system's authority recently. And there was a brief moment where the Empire considered finding an ally. Not because they needed one, but just because having another nation to fight for you can be useful. But we decided against it on account of the Empire doesn't need anybody, but the Empire... besides, the Empire would then have to acknowledge non-Imperials exist. I mean, the view is that everybody is an Imperial, loosely. They just don't know it yet. But acknowledging a non-Imperial government, impossible. We can't do that. We can't do that. So, the plan was scrapped. Here. 1 and 2, we note that they mine. What is object 3? 3 and 4 are icy planetesimal fields. What do we want to do with those? That is the real question. Because I'm not entirely sure. We could... I mean, of course they're used for mining, but that's semi-obvious, if you ask me. We could just change 1 and 2 to 1 through 4. Object 1 through 4 are both colonized and used for mining. Many of these colonies are not independent, but are part of the various nations in the system. Object 5 is an unstable planet with a ring system. I probably want to add more details, so I probably don't want to lump them together. Maybe, maybe not. We can always expand our details on the planets. I need to find a segment I know what to write for, you know? To find something I can easily work on. Are there any artificial structures in the system? Like, major artificial structures? Other than, of course, the enhanced orbital ring. Alien planet, barren... No, there aren't. Unfortunate. Okay, we should note... connect 2 sides of the subsector. Okay, I know what we will do. We should probably note the fact that this is a transit system. What did we note that as? So, we have an entire system built into the economics section of Galactic Requiem, of course. Oh, that's why I can't find it. I'm looking in the wrong book. And basically, every faction, I say faction, I mean like object, has a trade code, as mentioned before, about code profiles, but trade code is a little thing that basically, this is the most important part of the trade code, is what kind of system is it? Is it a importer, exporter, etc.? And assuming I can find it, finding it is the hard part. Too many pages. I guess we'll just use the search. Assuming we can actually spell, that's the hard part. Here we are. Producer, refiner, hub, transit, and consumer. This system, while it is a place they transit through, should be considered a hub system due to its prominent placement. Things would be stored here and sent from here and so forth, even though it's sort of a transit system, just due to the importance of the system we're generating. It is technically a hub system. So it's going to be system trade type hub. You will note that under info. Oh, I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. We already did. This system's trade type is hub, increase ship traffic. I should have read a little more carefully. I bet, because I was in another sheet. You could probably just see that the entire time. Everybody could see that it was hub and wondering what I was doing there. Yes. Two different FTL lanes. Yes. Atmosphere, debris made. Yep. Object 7, Moon 3. I suppose we'll write a brief description of Object 10. So that'll come after 9. Object 10. Ice giant. Lore. Object 10 is an ice giant with how many moons? Gotta go back and check. 6 orbiting moons. 6 orbiting moons. These moons are heavily colonized. Are any of these moons independent? I know that this system's supposed to be heavily tied to the main nations of the system, but are any independent? Not that would be big, I don't think. These moons should also have things on them. That's the one thing I'm ever so slightly, not really annoyed. It takes time to generate moons. It takes a lot of time to generate moons. I say generate moons, I mean, whenever you see a moon, we have to roll it up, basically. Their world generation means the moons are likely to be barren, but any of the moons can have full-on anything. Like, they could be jungle moons, forest moons, desert moons, normal Earth-like moons. I say Earth-like, I don't mean like Earth's moons. That would be a barren moon. They could be a moon that is Earth-like, as in with a bunch of different terrains and atmosphere and all that. We do work with a slightly different set of physics, of course. But yes, we at some point should stat those moons. See, this is where we get into the little thing I think I've mentioned long before, many times actually. The sensical thing that is very logical from Traveller, where they said, map only is really necessary. The same goes for writing descriptions. Work only is really necessary. Do we need to stat and write out the details of every moon in the system? That's an important question. The answer is probably not. Not unless they come up in the campaign. It doesn't really take all that long to do, technically speaking. Like we could do it mid-campaign easily. But basically, like, working on any of this stuff is, I like having some detail, you know? I think it adds to know that the moon is as, not the moon, the planet we started is as it is, the ocean planet. That can relate to the lore of it, given that the ocean planet is heavily tied into the fishing industry and the food industry of the world. Like these bits of lore tie in, and there's no downside per se for working on them. But there is a point in which, like, do we need to map the planet? Probably not. Probably not. Do we need to note every single corporation and thing on the planet? No, probably not. Which is why we have a tags system. We do have a little tags system that lets us just slap brief descriptions onto things and apply bonuses and penalties and little bits of work on the lore based on tags, which is super useful. But I also like having a way to randomly generate all this because I find it neat, but also a way to personally generate all this by hand, which is also neat. But yes. Anyway, let's get back to it. Well, in one moment, we'll get right back to it. I will be right back. I'm going to make coffee early. We're not going to stop at coffee this time, but I'm going to go and very quickly make a coffee. So I'll be right back. Okay. Coffee is not ready, but it is being prepared as we speak. So, where was I? Oh, another thing I realized I was significantly missing and have been working on for the past short while is vehicles. Not vehicles in general. Of course, as you know, we've had vehicles for ever, like since the start of Galactic Requiem. No, what I mean is construction equipment and construction vehicles. We didn't have any, and I realized. I mean, we've used them before, but we didn't really have any stat blocks. Not any good ones, at least. The ones we had were exceptionally old. So started working on them and updating them to certain new rules systems, which well takes time. I mean, it's not like it's hard. It's actually exceptionally easy to do. Exceptionally. I mean, there is a little research involved, and a little creativity, and a little thinking, and some statting. There's some things that aren't, you know, just innate that you need to figure out, like figuring out the what is it? Figuring out the lift capacities, carry capacities, pull capacity, etc., etc. Figuring out the stat modifiers. What bonus does a vehicle give to what stat? And if so, does it even give a bonus to a stat? Which matters quite significantly. And then using, like, tying it in to our nation system and organization system, like, how many workers of work does a hauler do? You know? Ways to do it easily for quick calculation without having to be like, oh, my nation is going to buy some haulers to haul some things. I guess we have to pull out the calculator. How much does a hauler carry? How much does a thing? How many do you like, without having to do all that, What bonus does it apply? But that number has to relate to that in some way, shape, or form because we like accuracy. So, there's some work involved in figuring all that out. And yeah, stuff like that. So slowly but surely, we add more and more. For instance, very recently, I realized we were lacking mines. Like, we've used them before, don't get me wrong, but we didn't have a accurate, good, fully, like, in the equipment book set of mines. So we quickly added a few. Could always add more. That's the problem. There's infinite possibility. But eventually, we will simulate an entire universe. Yes, that is what shall happen. Eventually, the entire universe shall be simulated. We'll have stats for everything, everything. But don't get me started. I could go on and on about various things involving statting and rules and items and all of that. But that's its own bag of worms. Uh, so let us slowly but surely continue onward. What are we doing? Getting the coffee slightly threw me off. Well, it's still not even done yet. Slow coffee. So, let's check the world map. Let's check the world map. No need to sit on the city map. That's what I need to set up. I need to set up the visual thing. I mean, right now the only visual is this. I need to set up the other visual. Uh, uh, 20? East 40, not 20. I knew it was a multiple. There we are. Is this the new version? No, we didn't update it. Unfortunate. Hmm. So, welcome to a galaxy map. I said galaxy, this is sector map. 150 by 150 light years. I suppose we'll throw some stuff down. Hmm. How accurate do we need to be? Very, or I'll complain. We need to be as accurate as possible. Okay. Hidden. Perfect. What should we... Well, if we want to be accurate, we're going to have to open our generator. Do we want to do that? We could do it by hand. We could just pick. Nobody can stop us. We are the head creator of Galactic Requiem. There's not some rule set. Oh, there is, but, you know. When it comes to making a star system, the rules afforded to me are very vague. Very vague. Oh, yep. Okay. Uh, you know what? Let's stat a vehicle. Let's stat a vehicle. My apologies. And or weapons. Let's stat things. And my coffee is almost finished brewing. Worldbuilding scraps. Here we are. So, every object, item, character, etc. in Galactic Requiem has a stat block, crazily enough. Because everything should be able to be translated into rules. And the question is, what do we require? I'm supposed to be world building here. I am stuck in indecision of what to do. Not the place you want to be stuck. 70 millimeter. You have enough cannons? Cannons could use work. Could always use more. Could always use more of everything. Let's make a 10 gauge automatic shotgun. So we have a generic template for one. Why not? Generic template. Automatic shotgun. That is AS, right? What do we name automatic shotguns? AS. As shown to us by our Terran Nation's 12 gauge automatic shotgun. Okay. Time to get the stats down. 10 gauge, 12, 8 large, 8. 8 large, 10. 50 feet. S2H, 1 to 20 times 2, ballistic. 25,000 credits? Awesome lane. Well, let's find out. Let us find out. As low as 1,000 Galactic Standard credits. Crazy. Yeah, we'll go with 2,500. Seems about right. So, that right there is how you stat a weapon. Well, yeah, no. That's perfect. That works. No, we messed up. Generic 12 gauge. Automatic shotgun. And then we input that into the items book. And as easy as that, we have another weapon. I suppose we should also just make a semi-automatic version. That one, we don't need to make here. There's literally one change on the sheet too. It is... What? Okay, sorry, nope. I panicked there for a second because I accidentally copied the right thing and thought I deleted everything. Which, of course, is concerning. Okay, we type that there. Put that there. Perfect. Or did we do that wrong? Nope, we messed up. That should be £12. 12, 12, 10. And the other shotgun should be 8. Automatic. There. That one's going to be 2,000. And then we need one more. Oh no, that one should be 3,000 then. Bump that up to 3, to 500, 200, to 500, 2,000. Semi-automatic. Shotgun. 8. And this one should be 10 and 10. And just like that, we've added like 3, 4 shotguns. As easy as that. I'm noting them in a different file. The file that stores the weapons, which we don't have open. Let me finish making my coffee. My apologies, I'll be right back. Okay, coffee and space biscuits. Well, space cookie biscuit things. Very good. My conscripts have done well. Sparing you the crunching of the biscuit. So, we have made some progress in adding a few weapons. There needs to be a lot more. Like, every item in Galactic Requiem is very customizable. Like, players can even build items and all that, assuming they have the parts and materials. Or you can just buy them, or modify them once you buy them and so forth. There's lots of items like that that you can use to modify your weapons with a variety of different bonuses and so forth. Do you want to buy plasma ammo or cryo ammo or fire ammo, etc. for basically any kind of weapon? However, different weapons have different modifiers for these things. For instance, you can of course buy armor-piercing rounds for a majority of different weapons. However, some weapons don't have certain options available to them. For instance, it is not really possible to use ballistic rounds in a laser weapon. However, it is possible to use laser rounds in a ballistic weapon. Of course, they need to be designed properly. You can't just put a laser cell in a ballistic weapon. There are certain ammo varieties that are designed to do specific things. Yes. So, a lot of these items have different costs and so forth. Of course, different weapons have different benefits, and shotguns specifically have the benefit of having decreased cost for specialty ammo types due to the way shotguns work. They also provide a bonus on bleed and a penalty on treat injury, and they have a higher chance to injure a target. So, yes, these are the kinds of things we consider. There's also advanced builds and masterwork and all that kind of thing that can be applied to weapons, vehicles, items, etc. Everything should be customizable and statted. And that is what we here at Galactic Requiem Industries strive to do. Stat everything. Have lore for everything. Have a generic template to modify for everything. Because, like I said, it's easy for us to stat anything because we have templates to work with. These templates, I need to go fix something. I mean, I'm going to be right here. I just need to open a different file. So the code at the top of the gun is affected by the stats of the gun. We changed some of the weight stats of the guns, so I need to actually update them so they're accurate, otherwise the code at the top will be wrong. We have fixed it. It was that easy to fix all of the stat blocks that we wrote, which was, I mean, one was displayed here, but all, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All 5 stat blocks took that long because we just needed to update a number. Now they are accurate. So, yes. Well, building scraps. The problem is there are certain things that are hard to stat. I'll be right back. Not going anywhere, but there's one more coffee biscuit. Very good. So, yes, there are basically countless items to work on and stat, and countless things to edit, and all that. But once more, we should focus on why we're here. We should focus on the task at hand. And the task at hand is, of course, world building. Building worlds. So now that we've finished our little complete sidetrack for some reason, not sure why I got off track there, but I did. Probably because I was stuck at trying to not realize what I didn't have inspiration, you know? I didn't have inspiration. But now we have coffee. Coffee provides inspiration, doesn't it? It was Object 5 Unstable Planet with a ring system. Sometimes you just need to stand up, you know? Go for a walk to get coffee. Object 5. Unstable planet. What does that mean? That's the real question. Did we actually ever know what that meant? Let's go to our generator. Random generator. Here we are. System, types of orbiting objects, planet. We go to the planet chart. Any non-gas giant. Oh, that's not right. We should be able to have unstable gas giants. It's only right. Unstable. You have to go to this chart. Features, planet, stability, biosphere, not atmosphere, not hydrosphere. Well, let's check one other thing. Go, nope, not what we wanted. Here's what we're looking for. What does this say that means? It doesn't? No, it does. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Nope, it doesn't? Weird. Okay, we'll figure this out. Oh no. That is not ideal. Bots. Caught me in the middle of rambling. There we go. Problem solved. So, where were we? Ah, yes. Rambling about unstable planets. Trying to figure out what it means. Unstable planets are planets that are clearly unstable. If you couldn't tell. But I'm genuinely not entirely certain what it means. So we can find out by just typing into a search bar here, not a Google bar. We're looking for the right file that it might be listed in. And it's not this file. There are 2 files it might be. Okay, there's like 3 types. Hmm. Okay. This will take 1 moment. Okay, it's definitely not that. It's definitely not that, but those are neat. I didn't even remember I had those. I've also learned a third thing that I find interesting. Okay. Atmospheres. Other information. No. This one, perhaps? Here's what we're looking for. We actually found it. Good, good, good. Due to its position. Okay. So it is a special world that is basically catastrophically everything's wrong there. Object 5, unstable planet. Law. Object 5. It is next to the icy planetesimal field. Interesting. Can we use that? It's between an icy planetesimal field and an asteroid field. Hmm. Object 5 is an unstable world. Do we want it to be bombarded by asteroids and so forth, or do we want to make it a little bit more interesting? That's the real question we have to answer. And the answer is... we'll have it hit by asteroids and be more interesting. Due to its positioning and several FTL disruptions, the world is often bombarded heavily by... no FTL disruptions. Due to its location, the world is bombarded heavily. Often bombarded heavily by asteroids and comets. Yeah. Is that acceptable enough? No, it's unstable. It should be more. These bombardments often reveal underground networks of caves and strange ecosystems. The ring of this world is what? Not an orbital ring, it's a normal ring. Ring of this world? All beautiful is a result of the constant bombardments and of the constant bombardments and of asteroids and comets breaking up in orbit. Heavily by asteroids and comets, the ring of this world, while beautiful, is the result of the constant bombardments of asteroids and comets breaking up. Perfect. Okay, so we have a bit of data on object 5. Ooh! Many. No, not many. Occasionally, workers from, no, occasionally mining vessels from the system, from the rest of the system, occasionally mining vessels from the rest of the system will take a risk and attempt to mine the mine isn't really the correct term. Mining vessels are what does it, but they're not going to mine the ring per se. Well, I suppose it is in a sense mining, sort of, but it's not what we'd consider. We'll just put brackets around mine, not brackets, but like quotation, an attempt to mine the resource-rich ring. This, however, is dangerous. Okay, so we have a bit of information on object 5 now, a bit of detail. Okay. So we're going to continue. We're going to keep it slow, though. But we've actually started making some progress in the actual world building, haven't we? We've made A place in which miners are going to go and take risk to get rich quick that doesn't always work out for them. And another world with its own little section. We can write a lot. We can write a lot. This world is not really colonized due to the dangers. However, many small outposts operate on its surface. Military and mining/resource gathering. Mining/resource gathering, not military. We'll keep that for a separate section. There we are. So it's not really a colonized world, but people are there because it is a abundant, resource-rich world. The world itself is resource-rich. I cannot type nor spell right now, but we'll go with it. World itself is resource-rich. Comets. These bring large okay, we'll make another line, we'll go like that. These bombardments bring large amounts of resources to the world's surface. Mm-hmm. The world itself is covered in a variety of terrains. However, it has a primary widespread terrain. It has a primary widespread terrain of jungle. Perfect. The terrain is often, not often, the terrain is pockmarked. I believe that's the correct term. Cratered. with barren spots. The terrain is created heavily with barren spots due to the bombardments. In and near these spots are where the resources and the caves can be. And the cave entrance. No, I'll just go with resources. Resources and entrances to the underground network. Perfect. Underground networks can be found. This is what I mean about giving planets a paragraph or two of description, you know? This exactly right here is what I mean. Adding details and information to worlds. Even just that adds a whole idea, a whole concept, a whole series of adventures just by what equates to a paragraph or two of detail. And this is what I mean when I say world building. And this can be done not only for planets or locations, it can be done for anything. Just add a paragraph of detail, you know? And that is what I think is very important and good. Okay. Back to work. So we have 1 through 4, but not a lot on them. We could always do more on those. We have Object 5. Object 6 is just another asteroid set. Yep. A lot of moons we could do on 7. We could give details to each moon. 15 moons even. We also have Object 8, which is exotic, meaning it needs to be generated with more detail. We have our Chthonian world with the orbital ring, which I love. We should maybe actually make a system map. Probably. Can have fun tracking the wall if we do. Is this one any good? Gemblink system map. It's the old version. It's the old version. But it'll do. Map, copy. Terran Nation system map. Okay. Now what do we know about the system? Let's actually just make the system map, you know? This is a really old version. Not ideal. It doesn't have what I need, but we'll make it work. There we are. Okay. Go to here, click there. It's not there. Perfect. Okay. Now we need to quickly open the file and open it invisibly, but just because it's going to be easier to find it and swap back and forth. Assuming it loads. There we are. This is a binary system. It's going to be annoying to do. G and M. G and M. Okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go over to the system. Nope, this is the system. We're going to sector map, blank sector. Hidden M, G, copy, select map, object, size, large, size, fine, arrange, bring to front, hidden, nope, that's in the token layer. There we are. Perfect. That is on the object layer. They both are very good. But there, we got our little binary system. The reason binary systems are annoying is because if you are a nerd, you know that there's like so many different arrangement options. You can have a binary system like so, with the stars close to each other, but you could have a binary system with the other stars orbiting at a large distance, and that messes up your star system, doesn't it? Because if they're orbiting at a large distance, then you can have orbits that are of a secondary object. So some planets, some orbital objects, in this case we'll just use the word planet, could be orbiting one world, one star, and not the other star. Which I'm sure you can understand can cause quite a bit of complexity in making a star system. Perfect. Okay. Now let's look at the system chart. We'll just put the stars close to each other for ease. Asteroid field, 1 and 2. Which is going to be super easy to do. Assuming I can find where I put the asteroid field. Size, medium, change to token for now. 1. Halo, purple. Nope. Halo, magenta. It's either that or maroon. I think it's magenta. There we are. 1, 2. What's next in the system? Icy planetesimal. No, that's going. No, I realize I don't have an image. Okay, so I try and make an image for every, well, not personally make, but basically have an image for every type of available option, a distinct image that represents that variant, if you will. We happen to not have an icy planetesimal field, and I did not realize that we didn't. And so very quickly, I am panicking. Probably shouldn't be doing this right now. Not because of, like, I'm not panicking, but like I shouldn't be doing this right now because this is, you know, not the kind of thing we're here to work on. We're not here for me to make tokens, you know? Come on. There. Almost good enough. We need the ice and the planetesimals, which we can use from these tokens. Why the hell? Is this not working? It's annoying me to no end. So, the images I am working with are not dragging, and I click and drag, which is annoying. Because I assume you're supposed to be able to click and drag images. One would think. One would think. Okay, almost set. My apologies. This is the most slapdash construction of a thing ever. Ooh. Maybe not. Maybe not entirely. I mean, no, it's terrible, but I absolutely hate it. File export as. here. Export. I hate it so much. Sure. Probably could have spent a lot more time editing the images to be acceptable, but no. Halo. Magenta. Icy planetesimal field. What else is in the system? A second icy planetesimal field. 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. What else do we have? Then the unstable planet, which I'm pretty sure we don't have either. We can probably make do. Probably. Do we have any planets that would possibly work image-wise? I realized that there's a few planet classes I didn't assign to images. That's good enough. Halo. Magenta. What comes after that? Asteroid field. Then Chthonian planet. Asteroid field. Chthonian world. Don't worry, they're not literally in a line like this. I'm gonna spread them out. I'm just getting them all in the area first. There's gonna be a distance between them. That's what this map is for. Specifically for mapping distance between objects. But it's easier if I just get the objects down first, you know? Exotic planet. Do we have one for the exotic planet? Probably. We'll just use that for now. That will do for now. Okay, what else? Another Chthonian planet. Bam. Okay. Ice giant. And then icy planetesimal field. Ice giant is easy. Ice giant, icy planetesimal field. Ice giant, gas giant, asteroid. Ice giant. Oop. Planets. Gas giant. Asteroid field. Okay. Ice giant again. Then ocean world. Ice giant ocean world. I might change these, of course, once I open the actual main Galactic Requiem file and find the proper types. I'm going by feel right now. Alien Baron, Alien Baron asteroid, icy planetesimal. Alien Baron, Alien Baron asteroid, icy planetesimal. Alien Baron. Now let's have a little bit of fun before we move them and everything. Okay. I've been wanting to do this for a while. 5, 7, 8, 9. 5, 7, 8, 9. One, two, three, 4, 5. 6, 7, 8, and 9. Probably shouldn't do it yet due to the size of them. Once we spread them out, it'll be a lot more acceptable, but we've slapped rings on the worlds, which is cool. Having rings on worlds is cool. We'll leave the rings up a bit, just so I can arrange them once it's time. I suppose I should arrange them afterwards. There's one other one I want to do, which is going to be fun. Now, 9 doesn't. 9 has a ring. Ooh. And an orbital ring. 9 is the cool one. 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 is going to be like that, but also, because it is the cool world, and it has a man-made ring, we're also going to slap that on it behind the like so. Look at that. Look at that world. I love it. I love it. But yeah, that's going to be that world, and it's lovely. Theoretically, we could do all sorts of stuff like this to these. Like, if a world has a station swarm, like one of our worlds we mentioned has a station swarm. Let's check. So, we know that planet 16 has a station cluster. So it's the ocean planet has a station cluster. That's this one. But basically what we're going to do, not necessarily what we're going to do, what we can do is be like, is this the right? Yep. I just could have sworn I had other variants. Size. Fine. basically we could put station cluster in orbit or something. Basically, however we want to go about it, once we set it up, we'll be able to just slap the representations in orbit. For planets with moons, by the way, if you want to know what we do, because moons are technically their own places, their own options. What we do for moons is basically we just take a planet representation of whatever planet type it is, and you basically just, like, let's say this thing has a moon. You just make it small or however big it is, and then you have them above it with their own halo. So, like, you'd have a little series of things above it. You could also do that with these, go like halo, magenta, letting you know you have a little station swarm in orbit, etc., etc. Ooh! I realize how better to do the station swarm. I also realize how better to do this. Well, I know how better to do that. Spend more time on it. Just combined a ice world that we had image with these, basically. Anyway. It is an alien world, but we don't need to use the alien world type. Let's be more accurate. It is an islands world, if we want to be technical. So, we'd grab this. Halo. Magenta. So we have an ocean world, an islands world. We don't know that this has a moon. I just was giving an example of how that would work. But ideally, we'd spread these out. This is the inner system. This is the outer system. So literally, these squares are all of this. Not these worlds, but like... So the inner system, one square is 0.1 AU. The outer system, one square is 1 AU. The inner system is 1.5, no, 2.5 AU, if I recall. Yep, it would be 2.5 because 0.1, so 2.5 AU out to there. And then everything else is, well, 3. So you'd go here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, etc., all the way out to, 200 AU, which is what we usually consider the system edge. Theoretically, we can have larger systems, but we don't think about that because it's annoying to do. But yes. Okay. One moment. While we prepare to work on the next bit. Okay. Let's see. So basically we'd spread them out across the system to make it a full-on system, basically. Basically letting us know distance and all that. What else? What else? Um... What else do we want to work on today? We have a loose outline that's semi-inaccurate, but of the system here needs editing. Need to make a few new tokens, I realize. Need to stat a bunch of things. Need to world build more. We actually did a bit of world building. Could always use more. Um, yes. Let's see. Termination sys. Oh, I should bring it up in the proper place, probably. Oh, don't explode now. That would not be ideal. There we go. Okay, so we have the system, more objects in it. We can always stat more objects. We know that there's 5 main factions. Sometime we're gonna have to actually zoom in and work on those factions, won't we? Speaking of zoom in and work on factions. Not right this time, not now. Probably. Oop, that's the wrong one. This is the one we're looking for. Maybe? Yes. Perfect. Nope, that's the war zone. Here's the world. But the 5 factions. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You have a base layout of their cities, I believe, their capitals at least. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Of course, whenever we zoom in, there's more cities. Those are basically the capital cities, if you will, the most important. You fill the world with a lot more. Of course, I need a way to generate that, which is one thing I need to work on. A way to add more cities, if you will. A way to generate them. Placement and amount and all that. Bunch of work to do. Countless work to do, even. And so, that is, in a sense, what we shall, at some point, work on. Well, probably off screen. Not here, you know. I say we don't work on work here, but we worked on quite a lot of work here. Quite a lot of work. Something about worlds like this, just like maps with little markers and stuff, fills me with joy. It just fills me with joy. Little bits of lore fill with me joy. I like working on Galactic Requiem. Like, what's there to say? I like working on Galactic Requiem. Clearly, given it's what I do. So, let's see. Hmm. Okay. So, I think, I think, hmm. Yeah, I think we will call it there. We will probably call it that. Next time is probably going to be Solo Sunday on Friday, Solo TTRPG Day on Friday, in which we will play some more Galactic Requiem, probably. We will do our best to have news on Tuesday. And I don't think we might have armor on Saturday. News on Tuesday, armor Saturday, Solo TTRPG Friday. We might not have armor Saturday. I'm not sure. We'll figure it out because it's a big group thing. It depends if the group's there, you know? But those are the plans. We'll see if we do anything else in between. I have Imperial business to attend to. I'm probably going to go and stat things or something. I would like to thank you all for stopping by. As always, I have been your host, Casimir Basilius, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. Let's see here. There we go. Let's make sure this is all working. Yes.